want you to think of, could be today, could be yesterday, maybe it was a week ago, a month ago, but the last time you got angry and you lost it. And just look at the last time you got angry and you lost it. Who would you lose it at? And maybe just look at yourself as you're getting angry, if you can. Imagine yourself in the circumstance which was happening. Maybe my kid woke me up in the middle of the night. Maybe my children were fighting, or my wife told me to take out the trash. Maybe my father just didn't acknowledge me today. Or some guy got into an argument with me about pro-Palestine. Whatever it is. And I want you to be able to see yourself losing it. Can you see yourself? Do you have something? And if you could just feel that feeling just a little bit, that anger. Feel the anger in your body, the sensations that happens when you're angry. You know your blood is boiling and you want to punch through something and it's tense, it's ferocious, it's primal. What did you really want? If you could boil it down to its core, when you were getting angry, what did you really want? Yeah, I know you wanted more whipped cream on your Frappuccino. Or maybe you didn't want your wife to talk to you that way. Or your boss to ask you to stay late. Yeah, I get that. And we all want those things. We want life to be better. We want my bank account to be better. We want people to greet us with a smile. But they didn't. And life is filled with all that kind of stuff. And what do you really want when all that's going on? And if you could go back in time, what would you do differently? How would you relive that moment if you knew what you knew now? If I can start to distinguish the raw facts of life and the form things take on, if I could start to make distinctions, I could start to learn from my mistakes. I could start embodying life in a way of what I really want. I could start showing up to the people in my life like that. What if I could just really admit that when my wife told me to take out the garbage, that all I really wanted to know is that I'm loved, is that this woman loves me, that she cares about me and she respects me, and that I am loved as a person. What if when my kid was testing my limits, all that was happening was he was just being himself, and I could recognize that it's hard for me to handle that. Danny, you've got to put your phone away right now. And what if I could notice right now when someone pulls out their phone what's going on for me? What if I could just really breathe into that and feel that? What if I could start showing up to life in a way that I really want? And people could also start feeling that for me too. What would life be like? So just for illustrative purposes, as we go into it, is imagine, let's just take that example because it's an easy one, but maybe it's overused. Let's take a different example. Maybe we'll take a different example. let's say I come home. I'm going to break it down for you so we can see what's going on. Let's say I come home and my kids are fighting. Or you could take it, let's say I tell my kids to go to bed, especially let's say tonight. I have to go to a shir tonight. We all got to go to shir, and we got responsibility as men. And maybe for you it's something else, like, I don't know, you got to go online and pay all the bills before your wife lets you leave. Or maybe your parents ask you to clean up your plate, whatever it is, but let's stick with I come home and my kids are fighting. And when my kids are fighting, I start feeling something. I start thinking, first, they shouldn't be fighting. This is wrong. I need to shut this down. I need to stop this from happening. I need to make sure that my kids don't fight. Why? Because kids shouldn't fight. Well, guess what happened? I have this belief that my kids shouldn't fight. The form of how I see life, because what are the forms that how we see life? Life can be seen in a form. It could be a psychological thing. It could be a physical thing. It could be an emotional thing. It could be a spiritual thing. Life takes on forms. Everything takes on forms. So when I come home and I look at what's happening in front of me, the circumstance is my kids are fighting. I don't let that happen. I got to control that. I got to make sure that that doesn't happen. So, because my kids fighting is the wrong thing. Well, what's really going on for me is not only my kids fighting is the wrong thing, is maybe I'm not doing a good enough job as a father. I need to make sure I'm a good father, so I need to make sure that they don't fight. Make sure they get along. Make sure they have Avos Yisrael. And when I see them fighting, so I say the first time, guys, stop fighting. I'm giving you one warning. And they don't stop fighting, sure enough, because kids will be kids. And so what do? I then start feeling something. What am I feeling? I'm feeling frustrated. At the beginning, it starts maybe with a little frustration, because what's happening is they're not listening to me when I told them to stop fighting. Now, I've just got invested in the process because I inserted myself in the process. I said they need to stop, and because they didn't stop, now they have disobeyed me. So here comes another thing about myself, the form that it takes on. Instead of my kids just being kids again and fighting, because that's normal for kids to do, they're not listening, they're disobeying me. Well, what happens to me when they're disobeying me and not listening to me? I start feeling feelings. I start feeling frustrated. As they don't listen to me more, I start feeling angry. It gets deeper. And it gets to a point, generally for parents, where they get to this point and it goes and it escalates to something called fury. And fury, in the most common sense, it's not common sense, but it's uncontrollable anger that needs to act out and do something. And a person will end up going and hitting their kid. Or screaming louder so their kid can be afraid, so the kid stops doing what they're doing. And then the kid, in that moment, is learning that it can't be a kid anymore, and it needs to be a certain way. Well, what happens when a kid learns that he needs to be a certain way? He stops expressing who he really is, and he takes on a certain form. Call it a tzura. I need to show up this way now, because if I don't, my father will hit me, or my father will yell at me, or my father will get infuriated and lose it on me. So the kid takes on a certain form. But let's take a step back, because I'm the father, or we are fathers, people here are fathers, and if you're not a father, then eventually you're going to be a father, Mitzvah Shem. And you're going to see that this has nothing to do with the kid. This has to do with how I'm relating to reality. Remember I said circumstance through my mind equals my experience? Well, circumstance through my mind equals my experience means what was happening for me when I was getting angry? I was being forced into something that was squeezing my existence, and in that moment I couldn't handle it. And I said, things have to be a certain way. Things have to be a certain way. They have to be in a certain form. Well, what reality am I connecting to? I'm connecting to a reality that I believe, my belief of this is how life should be. So now my beliefs took on a certain form. This is how life has to be. But what's actually going on for me when I'm getting angry? What happens when we get angry? What's happening internally when we get angry? Anybody know? Like maybe kids shouldn't fight. Maybe they shouldn't fight. Maybe they should learn to behave. But does it warrant me getting angry? Is that warranted? Is that for real? Does it warrant me hitting them? Does it warrant me yelling at them? Is it warrant me terrorizing and destroying their, or shattering their existence? Otherwise known as traumatizing them? In fact, it says, Kol hakoyas ke'ilu ovdei avodah zarah. It says a person that gets angry is as if he is serving idols. Now we've talked about this before. The idea of serving idols, well, we're not actually, when we get angry, oh, you didn't do it yet?
No, there's a playlist.
Okay. We're not actually, every time we get angry, we're like go into our bedroom, we start bowing down to idols. That's just ridiculous. It's like you get angry and you go into your bedroom and you start bowing down to idols and you dive into whatever. But what's avodah zarah? Avodah zarah means I'm worshiping something foreign. What's foreign? Well, if it's not God, then it's foreign. If it's not God, then it's foreign, because foreign means it's not connected to God. Well, what's worshiping something foreign? I'm saying God wasn't in that moment.